Hello everybody and welcome back to another lesson. Today we're going to start our continuation of the last lesson that we lasted off for our FCE class. So if you remember, we did page 194. I think it's 1516, right? So 1516, and I asked you to complete it at home, the remaining two questions over here. So we will continue where we last took off. So we will go ahead and go to part 17 and all the way to page 197 for today. Okay. All right. So let's go to our whiteboard, please. Over here is part 17. Okay. So just the same as your your textbook, right? 194 to 197. Questions number 1 to questions number 12. Okay. So we will try to do it very quickly together. And this is just one of the consolidation exercises, okay? So this is another exercise where we use everything that we've learned into one or a couple of different exercises, all right? So please pay attention. And if you have some confusion, you can try to write down some notes. I'll be addressing some things with the red pen, okay, as notes. So if you see me writing with red pen or if you hear something important, please write down your notes on your book, anywhere in your book, so long as you understand them, all right? So let's get started. Number 17 on page 194. Complete the sentences using the words in bold, okay? So we have one example, right? Question number 1 is an example. Let's try to read it together. He regrets not applying for the job. He regrets not applying for the job. So regrets means something they wish they had done but they didn't do, right? So he wished he did it, or he wished he did apply but he did not. So we can change the word regrets into the positive form of wishes, right? So he wishes he had applied for the job. All right, so we have to remove the negative regret not applying. Okay. All right, so in question number 2, she wants to pursue a singing career and no one can stop her. So the word pursue means to follow or to chase after, or to to put your effort into following something, okay? So to pursue a singing career. Career, I think we all know what it means. It is your field of profession, right? So your career could be a professor, a doctor, etc. Okay? So your career is like your culmination of your whole professional life, all right? So pursuing, instead we have to use the word pursuing, okay? So the ing form. So it says here, no one a singing career. No one blank a singing career. Right, very good. So we can copy this part, the answer to start this, from the last part of the original sentence. No one can stop her. That means no one can stop her, means cannot, right? Anyone cannot stop her. All right, so no one can, right? Stop who? No one can stop who? Stop her, very good. Can stop her. What else? For pursuing. All right, so for pursuing is the wrong word. It should be from pursuing. Or you can actually just remove the from, okay? So this is optional. So in brackets means you can remove it. So no one can stop her from, or no one can stop her pursuing, to follow or to chase after with passion, right? Pursuing a singing career. Okay, so this one is already written. So this is how we do it, okay? And again, pursuing or pursue, right? Usually we use this about following one's dream, okay? So for example, there's a famous movie that's called On the Pursuit of Happiness, right? Pursuit also comes from the word pursue. That means on the activity of following one's dream to be happy, okay? So to follow with passion, pursuing. All right, let's move on to number 3. The moment she left, they started talking. The moment she left, they started talking. And the word we should use is sooner. So sooner means right away, right? Sooner. Or you can also try to think of this, I'll see you soon. Would soon mean right now? Right, it doesn't mean right now, but it can also mean in a few minutes, in a few days, right? So soon is a very versatile word. It can mean right now, as soon as possible, or at the time that is closest to now, right? So it should be no sooner. No sooner. And we know that the ER form, right? So I'll use my red pen. The ER form is the comparative adjective. That means no sooner, right? If you use no sooner means at once, right away, right? No sooner. You cannot have it any sooner, right? So it is the most, right? The soonest, if there is such a word, right? Sooner, no sooner had she left. Okay? So no sooner had she left. Is that all? Alright, so no sooner had she left than they started talking. Okay? No sooner had she left than they started talking. Alright, number 4. If he hadn't helped us, we wouldn't have finished on time. If he had not or hadn't helped us, we wouldn't have finished on time. We have to use his, okay? So the word starts with but. So we hear this a lot in a lot of literature, right? So, but for his help, but for her sorrow, grew a beautiful story, right? Something like that. So a lot of these poetic language uses this kind of structure. So if you don't know, do pay attention, okay? So if he hadn't helped us, that means no one else was helping them, right? Only him. So in this case, you can say, no one helped us but him. So that but him part, you can change it into a very poetic way, into saying, but for his help. But for his help. And then you put a comma. Now, just to explain to you why this means he was the only one who helped us. Again, remember when I said, no one helped us but him. So, to put that whole sentence into the but part of the sentence, we can just say, but for his help. That means no one else helped us except him. So, but for his help, okay? Oh, so the comma is already written, right? So, just this one. But for his help. Okay? Again, poetic way of writing. You can use this when you have creative writing, or even in your journal articles, right? Or even your essays. This is a very quick way to put in a lot of meaning into a short part of the sentence, and then you can use your word count into the actual information that you will give, right? Okay, so let's move on to the next page, but same exercise, number 5. This tea is so strong I can't drink it. So this tea is so strong I can't drink it, we have to use the word me. So this tea is the same thing, right? This tea is so strong or too strong, so I'll write that both down. Usually we'll use too, right? Means too much, alright? So can mean, sometimes it can mean a good thing or sometimes a bad thing. But if you use too, right, like too much, then you know that it's more than enough, right? So this tea is too or so strong, I can't drink it. How do we change the I can't drink it into the same meaning using me? Right, this tea is so strong for me. For me drink? No, right? So we have to use the to infinitive here. To drink. For me to drink. Full stop. Alright? Or the drink is not there, right? Or it's already written, so you don't need to write drink. Okay? Alright? So in some cases, right, we would rather use the word to, because we know that to means more than enough, okay? So can mean so happy, right? You don't know if it's good enough or bad enough, right? Number 6, let's move on. They gave him a gold watch as a present. So was, okay? They gave him a gold watch as a present. So in this way, we're starting with he. So he is the indirect object receiving, right? So how do we, or I should say the direct object receiving, right? So how do we change that? We change active voice into passive voice. So the object first, right? So he was given. Very good. He was given. Again, passive voice, right? So the action is not from him, but he receives it. So he was given a gold watch. A gold watch as a present. Okay, so I wrote that down, but you don't really need to write it down. Let me just underline and then give you this as the passive voice. Sorry, I wrote a mistake. Right, passive voice. I think we've covered this in the earlier topics. So passive voice was given, okay? Now, number 7, I think that this law should be abolished. Abolished means removed, destroyed, crumbled, okay? So to remove. So I think they blank this law. The word is do. I think this law should be abolished. I think they. Right, so now we have a another an indirect object here, right? So they do, right? So something that doing by them, all right? So I think they should, okay? We get this word should from the original sentence. So should, ought to, right? All those words. Should do away, okay? Do away means to remove or abolish. Should do away with, okay? So do away with, it's always this connotation of words, okay? Do away with. So remove, abolish, take away, do away, okay? Okay, moving on. Number 9, they're installing a new computer in our office today. So installing is to put something in a secure place, right? In its a safe space. Okay. So install. We are having, right? So the word is having. So we are having. We are having. Having what exactly? A new computer, right? We are having a new computer. What else? We're having our new computer in our office today. Yes, you can say that. But what is the action that is being done to the computer in the office? Installing, right? Installing a new computer. In this case, we are having a new computer. Installing would sound wrong because we already have it here, right? The ing. So, in this case, we have to say, we are having blank installed. Okay? So the PP form. Installed. Double L, please. Alright? Okay, let's move on to number 9, okay? Oh, sorry, this is number 9 already. Okay, so we should switch it, right? I'm so sorry. I skipped one. Alright, so let's go back to number 8, okay? So I've made a mistake and I did the 9 first, and then now we're going back to 8. They bought very little furniture for their new flat. Flat means apartment, right? So they bought very little furniture for their new flat. So we have to use much, and little and much are opposite, right? So much means quite a lot of, right? And little means, very little. So these are opposite. So we have to turn it into the negative form because we're using much, which is the opposite of little. So they, and then past tense, right? So bought. So they did not buy much. furniture. Okay, so this one's pretty self-explanatory, right? So opposite of little is not is much, and then much we have to turn it into little, but having to use the same word, much, so not much, okay? So did not buy much. All right, so let's moving on to number 10. You can go to the party, but be home by midnight. You can go to the party, but be home by midnight. And then we have the word long, and we start with so. I'm pretty sure you've heard your parents say this before. So, so long as you are doing your homework properly, then you can play your computer games afterwards. So long as you're keeping quiet at the middle of the night when you're watching TV, then I can let you watch TV, right? So long as. You have to be as long as, right? So it should be so long as you are home, right? So long as you are home. So we call this a condition. Don't be confused with conditionals. Okay, conditionals are if. Okay, so if this happens, then this happens. This is quite similar. So if you are home before midnight, then you can go to the party. So you can kind of see the connection there. But here is the condition. Okay, you can do something if you follow this rule. Okay, so we call this a condition. Right, there are sets of conditions, right? Similar to the conditionals. All right, moving on, number 11. The mistake wasn't her fault. Now, when someone is at fault, we will blame them, right? But in this case, it's not her fault. So the word blame has to come with the negative form because she did not do it, okay? So she blanked the mistake. So she was blamed for the mistake? No, right? She wasn't blamed for the mistake? Almost. Okay, it has to be, she wasn't blamed. Sorry, she wasn't to blame for the mistake. She wasn't to blame for the mistake. So here, okay, here to blame, this is a to infinitive that we will use if someone is in the wrong, or if it is someone's fault, right? For example, it's my fault that I messed up 8 and 9, right? So I am to blame for this mistake. I am to blame. But in this case, it wasn't her fault, so she wasn't to blame for the mistake. All right? Okay, moving on. Number 12. Gil sent me 3 letters before getting an answer. Sorry, Gil sent him 3 letters before getting an answer. That means Gil wants to talk to this person, but this person maybe has been very busy. So Gil sent out 3 messages or 3 letters, and then that's when he received a reply from a person or from a boy, right? So we have to use the word until. Gil didn't get an answer, blank 3 letters. Oh, sorry, it's Jill. A girl's name. I thought it was a boy's name. So Jill, right? So it should be until. So Jill hadn't heard from him until she. What did she do? Had sent him, right? Three letters. So I'm pretty sure you guys know what until means, right? So it's very simple, very self-explanatory. Alright, so check your answers, please. Make sure you get them all correct. And we will move on now to part 18 on the same page, page 195. So what we have to do here is we have to fill in the gaps with the appropriate form of the verbs in brackets, okay? So we have one example done for us. So the word is look up, right? In this case, look up doesn't mean to actually physically put up your head and look up. Look up means to search, okay? So this is another phrasal verb, okay? To look for, to look up, okay? So it's similar. Alright, so Laura looked up her boyfriend's number in the telephone directory. So look up would have to become looked up because we're talking about what happened in the past. We're telling a story. So Laura looked up her boyfriend's phone number in the telephone directory because she forget it. She forget it. She forgot it. Okay. Almost there. We have to change it into had forgotten, right? She had forgotten it. Alright, so she had forgotten. Now, in some cases, right, when you are writing, you can omit the TEN. So had forgot is also okay, right? In different cases, right? So if you're speaking to someone from a place in, say, rural areas of the UK, then this would be appropriate. Okay? Alright, moving on. Question number 3. She was quite surprised when his phone blanked by a woman. When his phone answered by a woman? Her phone answered, or his phone answered by a woman. Is that correct? Was answered. So the phone was in the state of being answered by a woman. So it was answered. Alright, again, the state of what the telephone was, it was answered by a woman, not answered a woman, okay? Or answered, not the telephone answered by a woman, okay? Moving on, number 4. So, hello, is John there? Yes, but he have a shower at the moment, the woman replied. So we're talking about what the woman said in that moment. So something that is happening in that moment. So it's in quotations, right? So we cannot use the past tense or any of the past perfect, past continuous. We can't use that, right? So what should we use for in that moment when you're saying something? Present continuous. Very good. So in this case, right? He is having. Present continuous. So if you want to take down a note on your book, just write down that question number 4, someone is talking in that moment of what is happening in that moment. So for them it was now, right? But now we are reporting back. But using quotations, so we will use the present continuous. The woman replied. So Laura asked the woman, tell him that his girlfriend phone. Okay? So Laura asked the woman, tell him. Alright? Told him. Laura asked the woman, told him. No, right? So in this case, we need to use a preposition there with the verb. To tell him. And this is the to infinitive, sorry, right? I want you to tell them. I wanted her to tell him that. Okay, so to tell. Moving on. Him that his girlfriend phoned. His girlfriend phoned. Okay, so phoned is the right idea, but when we're reporting, right? His girlfriend had phoned. Okay? We are reporting what she had done, what activity she had done. So she had phoned, okay? Alright, moving on. Half an hour passed. And she began to get impatient. So we're talking about the period from when she hung up the phone until half an hour passed. So this is a continuation in the past, right? So we cannot use present continuous because it's not talking about now. But it was talking about that time in the moment in the past where it was continuous. So we will use the past continuous tense. So we will use she was, right? Was beginning. Alright, she was beginning to get impatient. She thought to herself, if he not ring back in 2 minutes, I phone him again. Okay? So again, we're using quotations, means something that she said or thought in that moment, right? So if he blank back in 2 minutes, not ring. If he not ringing, if he doesn't ring, right? If he doesn't ring or does not ring, that means does not give her a phone call back. I will phone him again, okay? Or I am going to phone him again. In this case, we don't have enough space for that, right? So we can write down, I will phone him again. Or we can also use the present continuous to talk about the future things that we plan to do. I am going to phone him again. 2 minutes later, she phoned him back. This time, a man answered. This time, a man answered, right? So in this case, when we try to look at number 3, the phone was answered by a woman, right? So we're talking about the phone here being answered by a woman. In this case, in number 11, right? When she rang back John, who was she ringing? Her boyfriend, right? A man answered. So we're talking about the actions that the man did, right? So a man answered. Different from number 3, but I can see how some students can get confused, right? So number 3 is about the phone. Number 10 is about the man doing the action, okay, in the past. John Jacobs speak, okay? So again, we are in quotations, so we are talking about what was happening then in that time and what they were saying in that time. So when you pick up your phone, you will say your name, speaking, right? So speaking means this is blank speaking. Okay? You aren't my boyfriend, exclaimed Laura. I blank, the man replied. So we have to use the word no, right? In this case, I know stays the same. He is telling a fact that he knows, right? So, what's the next one? Number 13. That's what I try to tell my wife for the past hour. That's what I was trying to tell my wife for the past hour, or past half an hour, is okay, right? Was trying to tell my wife. You can say was trying. But a better way to put it is to emphasize, right? So, have been trying to. Alright? So either of these two are the correct answers. Okay? So number 2, number 13, right? We've used different types of tenses, and all of their emphasis goes to different parts of the speech. So some of them are direct objects, some of them are indirect objects, some of them are the subject. So you do have to pay attention to the context of the sentences or the words, right? You have to see which one is the emphasis and then write down accordingly with the tenses, alright? And of course you have to conjugate the verb, right? So does not ring, had phoned, to tell, right? So to infinitive, and then we have simple ones like the simple past tense and the simple present tense, alright? Okay, so let's now go on to part 19 on the same page, 195. It should be about the Stonehenge, okay? So the Stonehenge is a very, you can see the picture on your book on the right-hand side, alright? So we have 12 questions and we will talk about the Stonehenge. The Stonehenge is a very interesting, you can't say architecture because it's not really a building. It's more like a something that a long time ago, right, old humans or ancient humans created without the use of electricity or electronic gadgets, right? So let's try to read first before we answer the questions, so we get a feel of how to write them, right? So it's usually just words and only one word in each line, okay? So let's try to read it first, okay? We have one example in number 0. So Stonehenge is a prehistoric monument. Prehistoric means before history. Okay, so what does before history mean? Before modern day humans. Okay, so before, you can't really say before we started writing books, but more of before we started writing history books, okay? So the history we are reading now is not too far back, but the Stonehenge is way back, even before the history we know, okay? So prehistory. Monument on an area of land in Salisbury Plain, which is about 7 miles north of the town of Salisbury in England. Okay, so it's just telling us where it is. So on a piece of land. All right, moving on. Stonehenge consists blank a series of stone setting arranged blank a circle. So consists, right? We can say consists means included, right? Something that's included in. So included, we will say included in, right? If you are included in a whole group. But if we're talking about one thing that is included, right? So we say consists of, right? Consists of. Consists of a series of stone settings. A series of stone settings means different sets, right? So think of it as like you go to McDonald's and you order many sets, right? Many meal sets. So one Big Mac with fries and Coca-Cola, one chicken fillet, a chicken burger with a Sprite or 7-Up with corn, and you have all these different sets, and you put them blank circles, okay? You put them in a circle, okay? So series means different sets, okay, that are arranged in a circle, okay? So we use in for the shape that it is in. For example, this book is in the shape of a rectangle, right? This book is in the shape of a rectangle. So the Stonehenge is in a shape of a circle, or arranged in a circle. Arranged means to put, all right? Number 3, it is considered one of the blank complex stone circles in the world. So very easy superlative, right? We can't say complexest. Instead, we will say the most complex. Complex. Complex means complicated, right? That means the way that it is made is very complicated, and not even humans today can make it without the use of machinery or technology, right? All right, number 4. Most complex circles around the world. Built as a religious temple, Stonehenge was first recorded by John Aubrey in the 17th century, although excavation of this site did not begin blank 1919. What do you think? So they said that John Aubrey found the Stonehenge in the 17th century. That means 1800s until 1899, right? Until, right? It should be until. So they found the Stonehenge in the 17th century, but excavation. Excavation means to dig up the land, okay? And to find something that is really old. So a lot of people who work as archaeologists, right? They will dig up the land and find maybe like mummies or different types of artifacts, right? So we call that excavation. So until 1919, right? Moving on, research has shown that there were 3 main periods of construction beginning around 1800 BC or 1800 BC and finishing around 15th century BC when Stonehenge blank completely reconstructed. So construction means the action of building, okay, or the event of building. So it was just saying that it was built in 3 periods, the 1800 BC, or 1800 BC, the 15th century, right? And then finally, it was reconstructed, right? So was, after the excavation. Okay? Alright, moving on, the fact that the monument is so large, right, or is very large. So you can say so large, very large, enormously large. So you can put in also a adverb, but in this case, if you put in an adverb, right, it is quite redundant because we already have an adjective, okay? Moving on, that many people must blank work together in a team to help it. So in this case, we're talking about the tense here, right? So that many people must worked together. So this is a clue. We have the PP form, not the past tense, right? So must have worked together because it was very big, right? Think of the pyramid, something similar. All right. There has always been controversy or controversy blank the exact function of the Stonehenge. Controversy about, okay? So controversy is, how do I explain it? Like a scandalous topic, right? So people have been talking about the Stonehenge and what it could be. Some people say it might be alien UFO landing spot, right? Or it could be just, people were bored and they wanted to build something. So these are controversies, okay? Something that people talk about with different types of theories. Number 9, okay? Although blank is no doubt that it had religious importance, it is also known to have had a special significance with regard to the sun. So when we're talking about something that is there, we have it, right? So although there is no doubt, we have no doubt. So there is no doubt. Another good example for using there is when you want to say that there is something in a place, right? So for example, in a classroom, what can we see? We can see desks and chairs. So we can say there are desks and chairs in a classroom. Instead of saying in the classroom have desks and chairs, right? We will say there are. So similar with these kind of sentences, right? Although there is no doubt. Okay, so although we have no doubt, right? Records show that the site was used blank a place of worship during the summer months. Use for a place of worship is grammatically incorrect, but the meaning is correct, right? So we have to change that word, not for a place of worship. As a place of worship, right? As a place of worship during the summer months, and especially blank June 21st. We're talking about a date, right? It's a specific date, June the 21st. So on, okay? On June 21st, I should say, the longest day of the year. Stonehenge, a major tourist attraction, is believed to have a spiritual force blank to this day. So if you say until this day, means a long time ago until now, and then tomorrow it will stop being a spiritual force. So you have to say even to this day. That means even until now, and then tomorrow we'll still have it. The next day, in 100 years, it might still have it, right? So even, not until. Alright, so this is a good exercise for you just to, again, we're talking about collocation, or connotation I should say, not collocation. Let me write it down. So we're talking here about the connotation, okay? It means the relationship of words and how we use them. So a lot of words in English, right? We have one word and another word, we put them together. Sometimes the meaning doesn't make any sense. But if you analyze how the word works in a whole sentence, then it starts making sense, right? Alright, so anyway, let's move on forward to number 20 in page 96, sorry. Page 20 in 196. We have, part 20 in page 196. We have questions 1 to 12 about this place called Jersey. Alright, so Jersey is a place in England, okay, in Britain. You might know another place called New Jersey in the US, right, which is you can say an old sister town of Jersey in England, but now it's completely separated, right? So Jersey, in recent years, Jersey, an island in the English Channel. So when you say English Channel, it doesn't mean TV channel, okay? The English Channel is a piece of strip that has a strip of land, okay? Or I should say a piece of ocean or river, right, in the ocean or in the river, that has a strip or chain of land. So we call that a channel, okay? Alright, so Jersey, an English island in the English Channel, has B, right? Oh, I should write, oh, there's number 1. Okay, so number 1's over here. Has become a very popular holiday destination for British tourists. Why? Because it's not exactly far away from Britain, but it maybe serves as a holiday getaway because it's a different geographical location, right? So it's not exactly where they live in, but it's not too far away. Okay? So they are attracted by its easy climate, gentle climate, mild climate, calm climate, and magnificent scenery. Now, some of you may argue that D is the answer in this case, right? Calm climate. Yes, in some way, but we don't really call climate warm, okay? If we want to if we want to say that the climate is warm, it's best to say, if you want to say the climate is calm, it's best to say mild, okay? Mild. You see, now I have a connotation, right? When I say calm climate, I always say warm climate. So it should be C, mild, okay? Because for me, I think of mild climate being warm, right? Not too cold, not too hot, just warm. All right, so C. It's a good connotation there. Mild climate. All right, Jersey was made popular by an English television series. Said Bergerac, pronounced Bergerac, told Bergerac, or called Bergerac. Very good, called, right? So this is the name of a series, so this is what we call it. All right, called the Bergerac or Bergerac. Which followed a police detective on his adventures around the island. The producers of the series were careful to show the island, were accurate to show the island, were cautious to show the island, were exact to show the island at its blank. So we can say we're cautious, but in this case, cautious is a very high degree. Okay, a very high degree of being careful. So in this case, we can say A, careful. We're careful to show the island. When you say accurate, okay, so accurate means 100%. 100% doesn't mean exactly like being careful to show the truth, okay? So sometimes if you show the 100%, it's not really the 100% truth, right? So you have to be careful about it, okay? So we're careful to show the island at its blank, at its best, at its excellence, at its prime, at its advantage. All right, good. So at its best. You can also say prime, okay? But here in this case, best means the best of the time period, right? Prime means the highest, and then that's it, never happening again. All right? So best and prime are similar in this context, but prime means the peak, right? Think of it as an island or maybe a mountain, right? So prime would be from here, right? And this is your prime, and then you can't go any higher than that, right? You can just go straight or you can go down. So that's your prime. Your best can be, you know, you can have your best days in many different days, right? All right, anyway, moving forward, let me erase this. Number 5. Scenes were shot in all the most beautiful parts of the island. So, although Bergerac was not aimed to boost the island's tourist industry, was not intended to boost, was not determined to boost, was not proposed to boost. So if we say aimed, was not aimed, this was not exactly their goal, right? So they knew, let's not do this. We are going to avoid doing this. If it's B, did not intended, right? So they didn't think of it, no thought of it at all, but it just happened, okay? C, determined, was not determined, means we really don't want to do this, okay? So we are going to take this out of our plans. And then D, propose, is just to talk about, right? Just proposing, just to talk about. So which one do you think is the correct or the one that best fits? Right, did not intend or they didn't intend, right? So which number is that? Number 5. Let me read out the whole sentence. Is it number 5 or number 4? Okay, so the Bergerac was not intended, so it should be B. Alright, so the show was not intended to boost. Number 6, what should it be? The number of tourists to the island steadily blank as the series became more popular. Increase, raise, advance, appeared. Increased, right? This one's very easy. So we always hear this in mathematics, right? So something increased, something went up. Moving on, number 7. Jersey appeals to them because the ferry crossing or plane journey gives them blank of traveling abroad. Gives them a sense, gives them a meaning, gives them a perception, gives them an understanding. So perception here works, okay? But it is a very abstract word, perception, right? So in this case, we cannot use perception because there's another word that fits very well, which is a sense. Right, so if I'm trying to tell you a new topic and you're getting the sense of it, you're getting the sense of a new topic, it means you're trying to understand, okay? You're in the process of trying to understand, but not fully understand it yet. Yet. The keyword is yet, yet. In this case, number 7, the plane or the ferry crossing gives them a sense of traveling abroad. It makes them feel like they are traveling to a different country, but they are actually not traveling to a different country. But in reality, they are still traveling as if you would to a real country, or another country, I should say. Alright? Okay, moving on, number 8. So number 8, where did I stop? Traveling abroad. Yet the island has all the conveniences of home. So this is an island that is far away from where they usually live, but it's pretty much still like home, except the weather is different, right? So I don't know if you'd like that. For instance, English is spoken all over the island, right? Because this is the place that is part of England, so they're still speaking English. Only the older blanks still speak Jersey French. Only the older age, only the older group, only the older peoples, which is not a word, only the older generation. It should be the generation, right? So a group of people of a different age. Okay? So older group can mean 1 year, 2 year, 3 years older than you, right? But a generation can mean the whole chunk of 10 years of people who are older than you, right? So that's one generation, you could say. All right, number 9. Let's move on. And the currency in many of the shops are familiar. Currency means the type of money they use. Yet because the island is so close to France, it is easy to sense a French something. It is influence. It is painless. It is obvious. It is casual. It is easy, right? So we're talking about how it's very close to France, so you still get a sense of it being French, right? So again, sense of French. Number 10, sense of French effect, sense of French influence, sense of French power, sense of French pressure. Influence, right? So it should be, is it B? Yes, it should be B, influence. Number 11, moving on. So, to sense of French influence on the food, the architecture and the blank of life, the method of life. So this is wrong, it should be method of living, right? So method is not correct. The means of life. Means of life means, you could say the work of life, right? So it doesn't work well in this sense. The way of life, yes. The type of life. Alright, so the type of life works for number 11, but we already have a phrase, okay? So again, we're moving back to connotation in English. So connotations, again, there is no rule to them, but it is the culmination, the frequency of how many times we use this word that it becomes a permanent phrase, right? Same like phrasal verbs. There is no rule, but it becomes this thing in the English language. So type of life is okay, but because there exists already one phrase that we already use in the English language, which is the way of life. Okay? Way of life. Alright, moving on. Number 12. Number 12. It is this added cultural element, it being French a little bit, right? That makes Jersey a popular holiday destination that brings jersey, that does jersey, or that gives jersey? Right, that makes jersey, so it should be A, okay? That makes jersey something. So this one is pretty simple, right? Just make something. Oops, this one I did wrong, it should be C. But I'll keep it there anyway. So another connotation that I want to bring out for you guys is the circle of life, right? So let me just bring that out. So like way of life, let me write down the circle of life. The circle of life. So if someone is complaining, right? Oh, tomorrow I have to get up again and go to work, and after work I have to go take care of my babies, cook dinner for them, and then the next morning I have to go to work again. And someone will say, oh, well, that is the circle of life, okay? But does life have a circle? No, right? So what is this circle we're talking about? The cycle, right? And cycle means to do something over again. And if we look at the shape of the circle, it starts from one point and goes around, and then it starts from that same point again, right? So this is a connotation. There is a type of relationship between the words and their meaning, okay? So again, in the English language, we have a lot of these. I'm pretty sure in your language you have lots of these as well. That sometimes, if you look at it, it might not make sense, but if you analyze, it makes a lot of sense, right? All right, moving on. Page 127, the next page. We have to complete the sentences with the words in bold, okay? So I will only do part of it with you, and then the rest you can do at home again as homework or as practice. And then we have another on part 22, which is just using the capital words and turn it into different parts of speech, all right? So very easy. We'll do maybe, let's do 3 together, and then we'll do 3 as well on part 22, all right? Okay, so let's get started. So 0, the example, right? I've missed the train, so it's not worth going to the station now. That means she already missed her time. Maybe she planned to go somewhere that takes a while to get to, but because she missed the state of the train, there's no need to go, right? So we have to keep using the word point. So it's not worth it means there's no point, right? So I've missed the train, so there's no point going to the station now. Same meaning to it's not worth. All right? Moving on, number 1, please allow me to pay for the meal. Please allow me. So you're asking permission from someone to allow you to pay, right? So here we have let. So it's kind of the same meaning with allow. Allow me to do this. Let me do this, okay? So why let me pay for the meal? It's wrong, right? So why let me pay for the meal means you don't want to pay for the meal. So it should be why not let me? You are giving a suggestion. Why not let me? So this question here, why not let me pay for the meal? It's not really asking them the question of why not. Why won't you let me? Okay? It's more of giving a suggestion. Why don't you let me pay for the meal today? And you can pay for the next one, right? Alright, moving on. Number 2, Mario didn't want us to help him. We have to use the word turned. Okay? So I think we've talked about turned in a couple of phrasal verb exercises, right? Turned up or turn up, turn down means to reject, right? So in this case, turn down. So Mario turned down our offer to help. So Mario said no to our help. Mario turned down. It's a good way to say reject, okay? Turn down, instead of saying he said no, because no has a negative meaning, right? So turn down softens it a little bit. So did Mr. Joe go to your birthday party? No, he had to turn down the invitation because he felt sick, right? If you say he said no because he was sick, it sounds a little negative, right? All right, one last one for this one, and we'll move on to the next one. So number 3, the actress wore dark glasses so nobody would recognize her. So we have to use the word as, A-S. The actress wore dark glasses, blank, recognize. As not to be recognized is almost correct, but we have to put something in front. So as, right? So as to be, so as not to be. So as not to be recognized or remembered, right? Recognize means to know someone or to know something. Recognize, right? Okay, so make sure you write down the answers correctly, and again, the analysis of the sentence, right? Okay, so number 4 to number 8 should be your homework, okay? This is your exercise for home. Same thing here, just use the words in bold. Again, the analysis, okay? Analysis of the sentence. Make sure you understand which one is doing the action here, okay? In these questions. And then that will help you form the different parts of the answer. You can try many different types, okay? So try to, before writing it down, try reading it and saying out loud or maybe in your head. If it makes sense, then it's probably correct. But if the grammar or the context, the relationship between words is wrong, then you have to try again. All right? So 4 to 8 will be done as your homework. It's a good exercise for you guys to use everything what we've learned today into one exercise. All right? So moving on to the last exercise for today. Same page, 197, part 22, okay? So we're going to talk about learning an instrument, okay? So when we say instrument, it usually means just musical instrument. But the word instrument can mean instruments in the laboratory, okay? Or laboratory. Science instruments, okay? Or work instruments such as a pencil, a pen, etc., right? So in this case, instruments means musical instruments, okay? We have an example done where we have to change the words in capital into the correct form of each blank, okay? This means we have to add affixes, suffixes, prefixes, okay? So suffix, prefix, and affix, we can put them in the beginning of the word or at the end of the word, okay? Or sometimes even both at the beginning and at the end of the word, all right? So let's look at the first one, okay? We have one example, music becomes musical. So when most people start learning a music instrument becomes a musical or musical instrument, they find it difficult to imagine becoming a profession musician. Profession musician. Profession is a job, right? So a job musician? No, we should change it to an adjective. How do we change profession to an adjective? Right, we add the AL, so it becomes professional, okay? Similar to music, musical, okay? Professional. Alright, moving on. This is not surprising. It takes many years of serious instruction to achieve the level of perfect required to play in an orchestra. Level of perfect? No, right? So we have to talk about the state of it being perfect. So level of perfection. Alright? In this case it's ION, okay? Or TION if you would like to say. Alright? Moving on, let's do one last one together. Required to play in an orchestra. The truth is, if you do not begin serious training in child, no, right? So this is wrong. So we're talking about the state of being a child, okay? So we have teenage years, which we call our youth. We have adult years, which we call our adulthood, right? So what would we call something of being a child? We call that our childhood, right? So CHILDHOOD, okay? Hood. Childhood, adulthood, okay? Neighborhood, okay? Alright, one last one before we end, okay? So number 4, you are unlikely to play at a professional level unless you have exception talent. So the word except can be found in exception, right? Except means not included, right? Exception means everything else but this. Let's not include this. Here we're looking for a word that means a unique talent. So only you have it, but not everyone else. So it makes you exceptional. Okay? Exceptional. It makes you exceptional amongst everybody who has the same thing. So you are exceptional. AL, okay? Alright, so questions number 4 to 10, okay, in this exercise. 4 to 10, again, will be done as your homework, okay? So the word choose, like, classic, difficult, simple, and create. You have to change them into different parts of speech, okay? So adjective, adverb, maybe it needs to become a noun, okay? So you have to find these things. Very quickly, I can maybe show you where we did this exercise a couple of lessons back, right? I'm not too sure of the page, but I'm pretty sure we did it together. Let me quickly find it. All right, so I can't find it. Maybe it's in your workbook, all right? But if you want to use your computer, maybe you can search how to change words into different parts of speech, okay? Just write down words to different parts of speech, okay? So just change these words into different part of speech. So we call these, okay? We call these affixes. Okay? Because we fix a part of the word inside another word, right? So affixes. Most affixes, right, have no meaning on their own. So the word al, no meaning on their own. Eon, no meaning on their own, okay? But here the word hood, right? So hood has an actual meaning, but in this case we use it as an affix or a suffix at the end, right? There are some that we can put in front, right? We can put in front. For example, the word imperfect, so imperfection. So we have a suffix and a prefix, okay? And these are both affixes, all right? So we can change parts of words, right? All right, everyone, very good. So today we've done the consolidation part 12, right? So quite a lot of things that we've covered today. 194, 195, and 196 and 197. Make sure you complete 197, part 21 and 22, okay? These parts are quite interesting, so I think you'll enjoy doing. All right? Okay, so that's it for today. In the next lesson, we'll be learning another new topic, so make sure you finish all of this and maybe try to digest them so you can remember them, and we'll be using a little bit of them in the next chapter. All right, so I hope you finish your homework, and I hope to see you again in the next lesson. Bye-bye.